what jumped out at you from this year's Social Security Trustees report?
Um, well, as usual, the thing that stands out the most is how little things have changed. I mean, um, we've been predicting trust fund insolvency. I say we, the Social Security Administration has been predicting trust fund insolvency, for the past 30 or 40 years. The
And it hasn't
window,
changed that much. It's always around the early 2030s, it seems.
well, yeah, actually, I mean, there was a slightly bigger range. If you go back a few years, roughly 2030 to 2040 has been the general range of predicted insolvency. That window has narrowed. So for the last 10 years, the 10 years or so, the window has bounced around between 2033 and 2035. It's a much smaller window than it has been in the past, and it's been fairly consistent. As we get closer and closer, it's now, basically less than 10 years out in terms of the retirement trust fund insolvency. The one sort of big surprise is that the disability program has continued to improve, or the outlook for the program. Back in 2015, the DI program was on the verge of insolvency, and Congress had to, on an emergency basis, reallocate part of the payroll tax. They took part of the payroll tax from the retirement system and put that money over into the disability system. And they temporarily shored up the DI program. But since then, the number of people who've applied for disability has gone down, and it has continued to go down. And so what we see, the big news in this report is that the DI trust fund appears to be, permanently in the black. In other words, it's no longer predicted to go insolvent. Now, of course, the bad news is that the retirement program, which is obviously much bigger, it's about 85% of the total versus the DI portion. Um, it's still predicted to go insolvent in 2033. Now, there are technically two separate trust funds, but for talking purposes, and I think from policymaking perspectives, Congress views those two trust funds as sort of interchangeable or fungible. There have been numerous occasions in the past where they have reallocated between the two trust funds. The payroll tax, the 12.4% payroll tax is sort of split between disability and retirement. And Congress over the years has, as either of those funds has been in worse shape than the other, they've moved the money back and forth between the funds in order to shore up one versus the other. Given that as sort of the precedent, yeah, it's true DI may never be insolvent under current assumptions. The retirement portion of the program is still in big trouble. And if you combine the two trust funds, they will still be insolvent by 2035, which is, a slight minor improvement over last year when it was 2034. But, for most of the folks who are listening to the show, they focus on the retirement and survivors portion, and that program is still projected to be insolvent by 2033.